The BS6 norms that are going to come in by 2020 offers an opportunity for, because the limitation of time that we are looking at. Do you think this is an opportunity? This is the opportune moment where the industry and the academy could actually work together? We could start with you.
This is a difficult question. Let me answer it as follows. In definitely very complex topics like automotive engineering, I think it is not realistic to expect universities to do research that goes to the last deliverable. In such settings, we have to adopt the strategy that is adopted by automotive companies in developed countries. For example, as far as I know, Tata Motors has no PhDs or very few PhDs. I don't know how many PhDs does Maruti have? About 5. But if you look at automotive companies in the West, they will have a large number of PhDs. And this is because there is a job that you can do which requires PhD skills, like taking on a new problem, identifying what the question is, looking at what has been done, planning an attack, mounting the attack with discipline, recording your result, convincing. This is one side, but there is a lot of domain knowledge. So, for example, if I start doing research only in automotive, then why am I sitting in IIT? I came for academic freedom. I should go and ask him for a job. That's my first question. But my second question is, all my PhD students, will he hire him? Hire them? If he doesn't hire them, then where will they go? If they go to aircraft companies, they'll say, no, you're a specialist in cars. The only way my PhD students remain employable is if they are able to solve general problems and show promise of specializing in any direction. So I would say that what I can undertake as a sort of conceptual representative of academia is that our job is to produce people who are trained in thinking clearly, being systematic, and good for many possible things. It is like I am training a chef. The thesis is not a saleable dinner. The chef will go to your organization and cook the sort of food you like.
Yes, please.
So to answer your question, how one gets ready for BS6. So given that the industry academia collaboration is in India is not what it should have been, I really don't see how we can sort of work together in the short term and immediately get a solution for BS6. It's a more long-drawn strategic partnership that we need to do with the academia. So we can probably accomplish some milestones of 2026 or 2035.
Could we make a beginning now?
But how as an organization one can really innovate for BS6 is that we've started working with the similar technologies elsewhere in the world. So for instance, we are one of the very few companies in India who export to Japan. So we worked with, say, a Japanese OEM who already has those technologies present on the cars which are sold in Japan. And that market being advanced and ahead of the curve compared to the Indian market, we've already started developing those parts. And hence, when the technologies comes to India, we are ready. Now, just to sort of, for the larger question here, in terms of innovation, right? When I mentioned that here in India, it's mostly cost. Cost is, of course, also innovation. But the larger issue here is that in India, over time, the Indian suppliers have been building to print. Over years, year after year, we've been given down drawings and we've had to actually build as per print. Now, as a company, if one really needs to innovate, either one can continue to be a build-to-print supplier, or one can change the playing field. So what we chose to do as a company was, we said, fine, we will continue to build to print for the Indian market, but the rest of the world doesn't work that way. So we started developing global clients. So we export to 12 countries, and there are some components that we developed where we are the largest. So for instance, there's a component for a fuel system that we developed. We had a French competitor in that product segment before us. Today, so to convince our customer took multiple trips to Japan and France to convince them that our design is better than the French design. Something the French designers were absolutely unwilling to buy, that how can an Indian company promise a better design? The net result is that today, all of the Asian market of that particular client is with our organization. We've supplied 2 million parts with 0 defects globally. and our parts work at 4x, 4 times better load performance compared to our French competitors' parts at 2/3 of the cost.
So yeah, I mean, so that's one good example of how an Indian company innovated to get business out of a reputed French supplier. Maybe we have one question there. We have a couple of hands raised. Maybe we can take one. Sujit?
My name is S.N. Sarmah. I was director, ancillary and subcontract before the economy was opened. And when Mr. Bhargava was the managing director, I was responsible for subcontracting in the entire country, including Maruti. 300 NC industry was developed. At that time, thinking was to make India as the hub of automobile component manufacturing and the vehicles. A project report costing 100 crore rupees was made. UNDP agreed to finance that thing and to set up a world-class R&D center for automobile component. And unfortunately, there was a tug of war between Haryana and Delhi. Haryana wanted that should be in Gurgaon. Delhi wanted that should be this thing. Only 10 days back, I have told Mr. Bhargava also, he came in our, as a chief guest in our this thing. So my suggestion here is, all vehicle manufacturers, about more than 20, all kind of vehicles are manufactured in country. If they revive that idea, to set up that world-class process and product development center for automobile component, whether it is steering, whether it is engine part, all kind of this thing, our scenario of automobile industry will be different. We will be number one in the world for automobile component and the vehicle manufacturer. This can be achievable. This is my suggestion to you through Maruti and Tata and other manufacturers.
Yeah. Anyone wants to comment on that? Thank you. Thanks so much, Mr. Sharma.
Now under the NATRIP, actually government is funding development of like ARI, ICAT, and also one more center at Chennai, where these 3 test centers would develop areas of excellence in NVH and the power plant and also the safety. So these 3 centers will specialize in 3 areas and they will become center of excellence for these areas. So, and also they are putting up a lot of facilities to support component development in India. I mean, they have already invested about 220 crores and 2,200 crores and additional 1,800 crores are being pumped in for these 3 centers. Yeah, already ARA and ICAT are operational. The Chennai center would be operational from next year.
My name is ML Jain. I am from ONGC formerly, now having my own consultancy. My question is to Mr. Rao from Maruti Suzuki. Can you enlighten us what Maruti is doing in terms of hybrid cars, fuel cell technology car, and this latest electric car? That's one question. Second question is, in your presentation you mentioned that auto gear shift technology is 50% economical and 12% fuel efficient. But while you were speaking on the performance, you were saying otherwise.
No, that I was talking about a conventional automatic transmission.
Oh, I see. So 50% conventional is more economical.
Is more fuel efficient compared to a conventional automatic transmission.
Okay. That's
and much lower in cost.
Okay, that's answered.
So
now
that is the
answer.
optimum solution for Indians actually.
Okay. Now answer the first part of the question.
See, we have after the government announced the national electric propulsion project, we were the first to launch the mild HEV on our Ciaz and Ertiga. So the basic concept was to go step by step, and that's how we started with the mild HEV. And subsequently with further time and doing localization of various aggregates required, we'll be moving to the higher, strong hybrid and other